is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are so excited to bring you a new perspective for today's episode, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about something that we need to learn about, a new destination. Well, not new, but a familiar destination, Mexico. But first, if you're just tuning in, my name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, and I'm your host today on Smart People TravelWise. This show is dedicated to bringing viewers different perspectives in the travel industry. So before we get started, if you're just tuning in, as a reminder to all of our viewers, if you are watching this live, please hashtag live. And if you're watching this on the replay, hashtag replay. Make sure to share where you're watching from so we can acknowledge all of you. Don't forget to catch our show on Facebook and YouTube, or you can listen on the show on Amazon Fire, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Or you can even better download the app PHLV Radio, available on all iOS and Android devices. So today, travel has evolved in our very eyes. Within over a few weeks, the international travel and tourism really stopped. But one destination continued to be resilient: Mexico and the Caribbean. Mexico was able to continue its drive for tourism, and we're here with one of my very dear friends, Mr. Juan Carlos del Rio. He's a DMC and of Lux Hotels in Mexico. He's been all over the world, in the United States, Canada, Australia, Spain, Korea, and he's a proud dad. He's his own entrepreneur, an EPIC friend. He's the owner of EPIC, which is Exciting Possibilities in Cabo and Cancun, an avid Cabo and Cancun promoter. So please smash those heart buttons for my dear friend, Juan Carlos del Rio. Hey, Juan, how are you? I think you're on mute.
Yes, thank you, Alvin. Well, very happy to be a part of your success. Congratulations for those awards, the Magellan and ASTA.
Yep.
My friend, you have come a long way.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know being in the travel industry, especially with so many renowned leaders, it's very, very humbling to be recognized amongst all of you. But I really, really appreciate you being here and spending a couple minutes with us and the viewers.
Always a pleasure.
So I mentioned a little bit about your bio, but I know you have extensive history. Could you talk a little bit more about your background so a lot of viewers know where you're coming from?
Sure. I started off with tourism. I guess I come from generations of tourism before, but I started off young. I started off in hotel business. Probably some of you, the folks that are my age, remember the Camino Real Westin liaison. It was Camino Real, Westin Hotels and Resorts in Mexico, and that's what I began with my career in hotel business. I started off in public relations and then moved into sales and marketing. I was blessed with special training that was given to very exclusive, a very few of the interns by Westin Hotels. So I got to live in United States and train for sales and marketing down in Houston. There's Houston Oaks and Galleria. Mm-hmm. And then took off my hotel career, which has taken me some places. It was 17 years ago that I returned to Mexico. And ever since, I decided to burn my ships and my chips and open up EPIC DMC Mexico, which started off with a dear friend of mine, which is now my partner, Manuel Carrera, down in Cancun 33 years ago. EPIC stands for Everything is Possible in Cancun. And then everything is possible in Cabo, where I reside. We also offered Puerto Vallarta and Mexico City, something that you don't very seldom see, a DMC working out of Mexico City and the surrounding colonial states. So that's basically me. Still in touch with, of course, with my colleagues in the hotel business, the trends, the authorities in tourism. I was down back in 2008. I was a founder, member, and president for 10 years for the Mexican Association of Travel Agencies and Receptive Tourism. That's in Spanish, goes like AMAB, B as in Victor, AMAB. Mm-hmm. And I've been participating as a SCALIG for the past 10 years. SCOL, that's another international tourism association. And I try to keep up, of course, with all of the news and the trends in my country as well as worldwide.
Well, wow, you have a small little history of experience.
That's a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I'm
pretty glad I didn't have to explain that. I was like, wow, that's a lot. That's probably more than life I've been on Earth. That experience. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you're on here because again, you have so much knowledge, so much insight, especially from a different country, from a different standpoint. And I mean, you know, that's why it's really important to get everyone's perspective because the pandemic, it really flipped things on our head. We really didn't know how to respond. So I wanted to ask you, you know, how was tourism affected during the pandemic? How was Mexico affected?
Well, you mean chapter 1 of the Netflix series Pandemic? What a disaster. Well, it really hit like everybody, every corner in the world. It was devastating for the first months. Mm-hmm. Mexico tourism, the society that lives in the places where there's tourism in Mexico are very careful and are very disciplined. And I guess that has helped out a lot within the years. For once, the first, what was April, May, and June, that the whole country decided to lock in. And then reopening slowly from July on. Well, let's go to the first episode of it. We did not know, if you remember, how long it was going to be. There was no vaccines at the time. Correct. So we had, as businessmen, we had to take many decisions. One of them was if we were to finish off the contracts with our staffing or continue with it. With EPIC found a beautiful formula that has worked out just fine. So we decided to keep all our payroll in. Oh, wow. But just, but what we did was there was no work to do. So we decided on some projects, of course, like most of the companies, the internet projects to renew and redo and find new accesses was for all the administrative people. But what we decided to do was work 15 days. So we decided, we divided our payroll into group A and group B. So you will work 15 days and you will rest 15 days and then the second team will take on. That gave us the opportunity to keep all of our staff because we have trained them. Some of them have been with us for 17, 25 years. There's some of our employees in Cancun as well. So that helped out a lot. Of course, in the economics, you were making half of the salary, but at least you were making something, and we were able to return immediately when the market decided and there was demand. Then the reopening that came slowly, as you probably know, Mexico was one of the countries that never locked in or decided to continue accepting North Americans. And we kept an eye on what was going on there. At some point, California was a mess with the vaccine, and then we saw it happen in Texas, and we were all living this unfortunate circumstance. the country, as a federation, the Secretary of Tourism designed the protocol book called Punto Limpio. Punto Limpio is clean point, translated into in the USA. And it's nothing but mix between what the World Tourism Trade Council designed as the guidelines for COVID, and also Intertech, another international global leading authority on this type of, and we were well able to implement them and be responsible, just like I said. They kept the distance and the things that are now part of the culture, that in some cases the luxury market segment require more emphasis, and also the few groups that we were able to host, like it was like weddings and things like that.
Yeah. That's unbelievable. I mean, kudos for you and a lot of the other suppliers who were able to adapt and reinvent themselves. It's definitely really difficult in major areas in the world when it comes to tourism. You know, I know a lot of people were affected, being furloughed or even losing their jobs, but no parts of the world were unaffected by the pandemic. And I'm so glad, you know, this is the first time we've had an international guest who would be able to give us perspective on what they've seen on the other side. And you mentioned it before, Mexico did not really impose quarantines or lockdowns like other destinations like Europe or Asia. And it shows to the fact that you said discipline. I loved how you mentioned discipline in the way that we're conducting business, so that they can streamline and protect, one, their citizens and all the workers, but also the travelers who are coming in from North America. So with all of these changes and adaptations, what kind of innovations did your country, create in response to the pandemic? You said the Clear Slate program. Were there any other protocols that really stood out, whether it was PCR testing, whether it's the evaluation of travelers coming in? What were the highlights of the innovations in Mexico?
Well, to date, I guess the federal government, the emphasis was in implementing the protocols and also obtaining the vaccines. Mexico was one of the countries that requested the vaccines with enough anticipation, and there we started vaccinating very early in the pandemics. Very early, I mean, probably by the end of June. It wasn't before that time.
Wow.
That we started off. And in the beach destinations, being a beach destination worker, what we did is reverse the traditional age groups. If in most of the cases, they were starting with the elder. When you're in the hospitality service, you have to start with the younger, not the kids, but the younger crowd that is the one that is going to be working with the tourist, and then alleviate or avoid bringing the virus back home to the elder. So that's one thing that we did different. Instead of beginning the vaccination with the 80 to 60 and then the 60 to 50, started off with the 20 to 40, or 20 to 30, then 20 to 40. That kind of helped out a lot to be able to defend the tourism destinations against the virus with the incoming. There were months, Alvin, that the carriers reduced their frequencies in flights, but they had to keep on flying. And we were receiving empty flights, empty planes in our airport. It just hurt the soul to know. I explained to you what we did, but then turning around and seeing all the other links of the service chain bleeding, because that's the thing. So, I guess this will never be the same if knock on wood, something like that ever happens again. Every business in Mexico has the experience of these pandemics, has made us evolve and kept financial resources handy, and many other things that we were just taking for granted and just going with the tourism demand and living upon our forecasts.
Yeah.
Never again will we be printing a marketing plan. You just waste paper. They are all in electronics, and there is not an annual. That's from the pre-pandemic times.
Yeah.
There is not an annual budget. Now you create your budgets 3 months ahead and reviewing and the supervision, the analytic eye, costs versus incomes, etc., has accelerated and has come into to carry on nutshell. That's the whole situation right now. And
I think you're completely right when you say that people have evolved in different ways, and we've accelerated technology because we were forced to. You know, travel and technology, there used to be like oil and water. People don't really like to evolve. They don't have to, but we were forced to. We found a lot more efficiencies. We found a lot more ways to communicate with our clients, to effectively communicate travel protocols, health protocols. And it goes to show that, you know, I've traveled all around the world, and I've never really thought about safety and sanitation like I do now. I think it's even more important than ever to talk about how we can keep ourselves clean and safe, especially when we travel, because you never know, like now, the uncertainty of what a pandemic could ever happen, because our generation has never really gone through something like that, but we have now. So I really agree that there's going to be a lot more innovations in the future. I'm so excited to see what will happen, because like you were forced to I guess evolve in a way. And you mentioned that Mexico was one of the first to rebound for tourism. Did you find any differences in the way people travel? Maybe whether it's types of travel, maybe it's more adventurous or more people looking to stay intimate. Did you see any kind of trends during the pandemic that really stood out?
Oh yeah. The need for space. The one of the things, talking particularly about Los Cabos, which is known for luxury, the luxury tourism. And a funny statistic is, as these commercial jetliners reduced their flights to the minimum and were flying empty, on the private plane segment, it tripled in 1 year and Los Cabos is already a place where you will see 40 to 50 private airplanes every weekend. And during pandemics, you could see that all over California, California, USA is a big client for us. We say that we are the back patio of Los Angeles and all those counties. So you will see triple the amount of private planes. It looked like an air show. Every single brand, every single year, the vintage, the very new ones. It's amazing. And going through the so what we saw, and it's going to stay like that, crowds. People is not very fun anymore about crowds. More so a few months back. We saw them needing something that Los Cabos transmits very well. Los Cabos is laid out in a way, is desert, is not high-rise buildings. You have a lot of space. These golf courses, we have 15 golf courses all across. And is that sense of individuality and not being very close to people. Of course, like we say, the protocols were all implemented. The cleaning of the cars, the luggage. By the end of the day, all of the units were cleaned deeply. And it also went on, with regards to that, I guess that's how we dealt with it. Los Cabos was just fitted to that. So was the Mayan Rivera versus Cancun, which is more high-rising and is more, you have everything in one small space. So it was Tulum, one of the places that got to be very, very much requested. And I guess that calls for the rest of Mexico. Puerto Vallarta, it was the Ribera Nayarit, the northern part of the Banderas Bay, and Mexico City, of course, it wasn't the city, but the surrounding states that are more capable of offering. People was afraid. We were all afraid. There was one common rule. We are still afraid. Yeah. Now we are back in business. All of Mexico beach destinations, and we're back to 2019 numbers. And for the North American tourist, the average one, the vaccination mean a more relaxed way of life. Yeah. But we're still very much afraid, and you probably saw that when you were in Riviera Maya last week. Yeah. All locals wear their masks versus some of the tourists that after flying 3 hours or 2 hours in an average, the first thing they do is take it off. Yeah. We are the amigo country, and we're very friendly and very hospitable, but we need to demand to have your face cover on whenever you're in public. No,
I think you're correct about that. I did a study on how traveler sentiment are when travelers from high vaccinated countries are visiting other high vaccinated countries. The level of sentiment of comfortability becomes a lot more relaxed, and people just tend to uncover. I know because I was there. People do that, and they want freedom. I think it's an important reason why Mexico was able to rebound so quickly, because like you said, by June already of 2020, they were already releasing the vaccination, which left a lot of people secure about where they are as far as the healthcare and the financial infrastructure of the destinations that they'll be traveling to. I think it's so key that's going to be how people are going to gauge whether they feel comfortable or not when they come into Mexico. Because I can say that there's so many people who are now visiting and heading out to Mexico because they do look for really quick places or getaways, because people have been trapped in so many lockdowns in the home, not being able to travel, and being able to have access to the beach to walk around with their natural landscapes. It's just so inviting. I miss being able to travel like you. And going to Riviera Maya was just a blessing. I was very grateful to be able to spend time with you and a lot of other travel professionals as well. Mm-hmm. For you,
likewise, Alvin.
Huh? It's great. I mean, you talk. It's hard to sell travel from your house all the time when you're not traveling, because you feel like you have to lead by example. But I was excited. It was a long time for me to be out traveling like that, but it's very, very exciting.
Oh, yes. This is a new world, my friend.
Yeah, it is a new world. And so in the new world, do you have what were the highlights of things that you would like to continue on? Things that you think are important for the future of travel, just to maintain, comfortability with travelers? And then what were the lows? What were things that you can do away with that you just did not enjoy about the pandemic and you wish they were completely gone?
Ooh. Do we have time to number?
Yeah. That's a hot one, right? Put you on the hot seat. Come on, caliente, my friend.
Oh yes. Well, for once is the state of mind. Like we said, we changed. We all changed. Now we are ready, want it or not. Psychologically, every human being in the world will be much more prepared to what happened. Remember back in April, ends of March, we will need to go to the supermarket and you will see astronauts walking in there with plastic things. Yeah. What is going on? We were so afraid. And now, in some cases, I see people so confident. So it's not one or the other. It's balance and equilibrium. That's what we need to live upon with, and realize there was a lot of chance of evaluating our lives. And I guess in many cases, we're better human beings after that. You saw how organizations .orgs that were flowing with contributions from people helping people. So it made us more human. The downsides of that all, well, we lived it, and the upper side of that is that we will not go back to that. Like you said, there was a huge advance in technologically. Mm-hmm. That, I guess, is where you perceive it more. Now, 100% of the people, age groups that were not into computing are now based on that. And we are seeing also that that type of service has changed the way you sell merchandise in the world. United States, for instance, you saw all those malls and those empty floors and those empty buildings that are going to stay like that. So we have to find a new use for that.
Yeah.
And the evolution continues. If it's not in the virus, it is in what's next. It's in the mind. We will never be the same again, if you know what I mean. If you decide if you want to take this or not, but this is going to be much more mental, and it's the technology just flew and will keep on flying faster human beings in the way we live, and adore more and be more spiritual, I guess.
No, I love that.
You feel like that?
Yeah. No, I love that. I think it's important. Like, I think, because we were so busy with daily routines and just, the rat race of life, a lot of people didn't have time to kind of sit back and be mindful about their lives. And I think you're right. People became more in tune with humanity, not so much with countries, but just being more kind to other people, be more respectful of different people's countries, and appreciative of the value of traveling, because we lost it.
Yes.
I don't think anyone would have told you that the world would have stopped and no one would be traveling in 2020. I think people would laugh at you. But now we see what we took for granted. These times when things have stopped and people can't travel or unable to travel because of mandates or restrictions, it really gave us an eye about what could happen, what we should be taking an advantage of in our lives, whether it's, having the time, having the finances, or, just working all so much. So I think that's great that you mentioned about humanity.
Yes, we are. Yes.
And for you, to share so much insight, you've been in the industry for such a long time. You're recognized in Mexico in the tourism, especially here in the United States with everyone else, with such, I guess, high respect in your industry. What would you like to contribute to the future of travel, knowing that there's so much rebuilding to go on for the future?
Well, I will say, of course, keep on rowing. That's number one. Keep on doing beautiful tourism, working on the luxury segment. It's a different ballgame. You have to pay attention to a lot of details. So I will say that we have had almost 4 generations of Epicureans. Our EPIC tribe is everywhere in Mexico City. People that has worked for us, now they own their own companies. And I guess that's one of our biggest legacy and pride. No doubt that the human touch and the style of service will reign. So that to prevail in the future of tourism times, we will keep on, of course, working on that one. Now, there are several new things that have happened in our destinations, cleaning campaigns. We just had a small hurricane back in September 11. Last month, we were right in the hurricane belt here in Los Cabos, where I'm stationed, and it gave you goosebumps. The next morning, everybody that is somebody, from kids to elders, helping the authorities to clean out the streets and put the trees back, and everything was pristine in 48 hours. And and that has to be where the emotions that left us with the COVID. Probably a year, 2019 and beyond, we would have left the mess for 3-4 days and only cleaned the entrance of our homes and our businesses. And no, you saw people truly goosebumps, like I said. Everybody holding hands, tying, and doing only one plan, one target, one moment. No, beautifully executed.
Oh, that's so awesome. You know, those are the things that are intangible, things that you don't realize that travel does, communicating and connecting people together. When we go through crises like this is what people, you know, these are the things that really resonate with a lot of people, and being able to like reach out for help. Like you mentioned before, these are the things that make us stronger as a human race. And I think it's important that we recognize the ability that we have to really redefine our future right now, because this is the first time we're all communicating in a way that we can all survive this. Even the travel and tourism, you know, it accounts for 1 out of 10 jobs in the world. It represents 10% of the global GDP. And our hands are in everything, whether it's hoteliers, local street vendors, transfers, airplanes. So many jobs are affected by tourism. And, you know, even though you're in a different country, we're all part of the same thing. So I'm so glad you were able to share that. Now, for all of our viewers, Juan Carlos, is there any tips or advice that you can share with people who may be hesitant to traveling to Mexico?
Well, if I'm to say something is, well, there is the pandemics, and then there is the fear for safety. And I will say, with the pandemics, almost 100% of the businesses in Mexico have adapted and put into daily practice all of the protocols against COVID. With regards to safety, they're saying sometimes, well, Playa del Carmen is not what it used to be before. Well, it is. It is. What you have to do as a tourist, you have the right, and more now than ever, of knowing, expanding, exploring, feeling. But there are certain areas of any town across the world where a tourist should not go.
Yes.
It's not a touristic destination. You stay in the stage. You don't go backstage unless it's out in the country. But trying to go at night into the nightlife that is not meant for tourism is just risking your life. Here, in China, in Indonesia, in Germany, and the United States, starting there. So there is plenty to do, plenty to see. Mexicans have a natural, hospitable, we used to be called, we used to and we should, it was just a slogan that was utilized years ago, the amigo country. And we have it in ourselves. You know, it pleases us to serve. Nothing gives us more joy than you and your family going back very, very happy. And that advertising, you and I know that is the most beautiful, but it's natural. It's not meant to do it. It's not meant to be obtained. So if that's what I can say, yes, Mexico, in this new episode of the Netflix saga, has so many corners of the world of the country that have not been known touristically, and that offer beautiful natural layouts and things to do. I guess that's what we are getting. For instance, in our Mexico City office, you would be surprised by how many agendas we are creating going into these ruin sites and these beautiful places that otherwise people will just go to the beach and stay down there. Not anymore. But just remember, stay off the red zones of the world.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. The resounding takeaways to explore, to see different things and accept culture, but be understanding and mindful of your environment. I love that. You know, and I love the fact that you said, you know, like it's just a different experience in the future. You know, I think now there's a lot more less known destinations farther out in the countryside that are starting to get a lot more visitors, because people are looking for unique, more meaningful, purposeful travel. So is there any lesser known destinations in Mexico that travelers should start looking out for that you could recommend or that people should keep on their radar?
Oh, well, yes. And it will take, just thinking of the Baja Peninsula. We have cities. What is known of the Baja is Tijuana, which is nearby San Diego, just the beginning of the longest peninsula in the world. And you have 1,200 miles south, then you have Los Cabos. And everything that is in between, starting from La Paz, the capital city of the state of Baja California Sur, where Los Cabos is located. And then zigzagging, because the highway from Los Cabos to Tijuana goes from the Sea of Cortez back to the Pacific Ocean, all across all the time. You could take 1 month, really, truly, camping out there, being in touch with nature, wonderful places to snorkel, scuba dive, swim, etc. And on the other hand, of course, going into Cancun, Riviera Maya, something that is not it's never been tapped and is just as beautiful, is the city of Mérida, the state of Yucatan, on the eastern side of Cancun, driving after Chichen Itza, still going east till the Gulf of Mexico. And that will be all of the cities. The capital, Yucatan, Mérida, is called the White City, beautiful colonial. And then southern of Yucatan, neighboring, is the state of Campeche. And the state of Campeche, capital city Campeche, you will see beautiful places with populated by extraordinary human beings belonging from the Mayan civilization, with hundreds of ruin sites to explore, and Mother Nature all around you. Beautiful jungles and wonderful waters.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I can't wait. I just can't wait to explore. I was in Mexico again for the first time, and I just had a wonderful experience. So many kind people, and I just can't wait to explore the beautiful country of Mexico again. For North Americans, we have been so excited to be allowed to enter Mexico. But as a Mexican, where do you want to go? Where would you want to travel next?
I would love to have, I would love to take more time, and I will, just to do that Baja Peninsula from south to north with enough time.
Yeah.
And I have a Defender vehicle to do it now, and just camp out and enjoy time and enjoy the outdoors.
That's awesome.
Versus the indoors that we were forced to live in.
Yeah. Explore the outdoors and do something active. Be out and stretch your legs and enjoy the beauty of what God created first, which is nature. And I love that. So Thank you again, Juan Carlos, for being here. I really appreciate you sharing your insight and perspective. It's really refreshing to hear different opinions about how the pandemic and travel has changed throughout this unfortunate time. But, people like us, I always say that you may slow down travel, but the people and this industry will always be resilient. We'll always find ways to travel. People continuously will find ways to explore, and I think it's in our human nature to do so. So with that said, Juan Carlos, any final thoughts that you would like to share with our viewers today?
It's been a pleasure. I hope everybody is feeling good. I hope everybody is getting back their market share, their business, and I hope we all have a tremendous winter. And I will leave you with a quote, in addition to what Jennifer at Allies, that's where we had the pleasure to meet last week. Alvin, it says, lead not by the example of power, but by the power of example.
Oh, wow. That's so deep. That's awesome, isn't it? I love quotes, aren't they? They're so cool. They're so right on the point. They make you warm inside. You just want to do good.
I am one of those. So we have another thing in common, my friend. Come down to Los Cabos soon, all right?
We will. Thank you so much, Juan Carlos.
To here and introduce you to put Los Cabos in your map. Awesome. Introduce you to everyone, and we can make it. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure. Thank you again, my friend.
Un abrazo.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, yes, thank you again, Juan Carlos, for being here. It's such a pleasure. People like Juan Carlos are why we have the travel industry, to connect and rebuild our industry. People like Juan Carlos has been resilient throughout this time. And even though it's unexpected, they were able to find ways to adapt, evolve, and continue on their legacy. I hope all of you learned a little bit about Mexico, about how tourism was affected in Mexico. And I would like to share with all of you my thanks for continually supporting our show. Smart People Travel Wise would not be here without your support. We are here every Tuesday, airing at 12 p.m. Pacific time and 3 p.m. East Coast time. We're on PHLV Radio, and I'm so thankful for this opportunity to be able to share different perspectives in travel. Again, my name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of TravelWise International, a Filipino-owned and operated travel agency operating since 1989. If you ever need help and or assistance planning your next vacation, please reach out to our experienced travel advisors at 301-248-8898, or you can visit us on the web at www.itravelwise.com. We can help you plan the most amazing vacations while removing stress and anxiety of planning it. So thank you again to all of our viewers. Your support is so humbling. Take care. Until next time, smart people, travel wise.
Just like a friend from back home. This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV.